Say our la'asok b'divrei Torah blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu tzivanu asok b'divrei Torah. Praise to you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who's made us holy with your commandments and command us to busy ourselves with the words of Torah. So, a review, because it's been a while. We're in chapter 4 of Pirkei Avot. We start off with Ben Zoma, who said, who is wise, one who learns from everybody. We'll come back to that today. Who's mighty, one who subdues their evil inclination. Who is rich, one who's happy with what they have. And who is honored, one who honors others. Ben Azai says, whether you think it's a big deal or you don't think it's a big deal, you should do the right thing. Because doing the right thing leads to doing the right thing, and doing the wrong thing leads to doing the wrong thing again. Ben Azai also said that everybody has their moment and everything has its thing, has its place. So be nice to everybody and assume that everybody's important. Rabbi Levitas from Yavne said, don't be so full of yourself, you're not getting out of life alive. Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka said that if you think you're getting away with something, you're probably going to be discovered. So do the right thing. And this was before they had cell phones to record everything. Rabbi Ishmael, not the famous one, the son of Rabbi Yochanan, this one is, said that if you learn in order to teach, then you will get the chance to learn and to teach. And if you learn in order to do, you'll get the chance to learn and to teach and to do. Presumably by doing, you are going to be a role model for someone else and will teach them along the way. Rabbi Tzadok said that if you say, I'm going to learn Torah with the goal of becoming an important person, then things won't end up so well for you. If it happens by the by, but it wasn't your intention, that is probably okay. Rabbi Yossi said, if you honor the Torah, others will honor you because they'll think you have your priorities straight. If you dishonor the Torah, presumably other people will think that you aren't such a good person and you will be dishonored by them. Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, still not the famous Rabbi Ishmael, said that if you refrain from judgment or from being a judge, then you don't have to worry about enmity, robbery, and false swearing. But if you treat the judicial process lightly, either as a judge or when you are being judged, then you are foolish, wicked, and arrogant. Rabbi Yossi also said that you shouldn't make decisions by yourself, if at all possible, because 3 heads are better than 1. And since in a situation of 3, you are by default the minority, you can't impose your will on others. Majority rules here. Rabbi Yochanan said, Yonatan. Rabbi Yonatan said that if you make time to study Torah, even when things aren't going so well in your life, then when things are going well in your life, you will have good priorities and you will continue to study Torah. Whereas if things are going well in your life and you're like, I'll study Torah later, you don't make time for it when things are going well, then Kal v'chomer, which is Talmud for all the more so, you will not study Torah when things aren't going so well in your life. So try to have good priorities, which the fact that you're all here speaks well of you. All right, Rabbi Meir says that you should balance being busy with business and being busy with Torah. Also, you should be of humble spirit before all people. And if you neglect the Torah, if you find ways to distract yourself, then it will be very easy for other people to distract you. But if you labor at the study of Torah, there's much reward for God to give you, such as companionship, because traditionally Jewish texts are studied in a group, or at least with one other person, if possible. There's the intellectual rigor. There's a structure to your day. There's much reward that you get. Hopefully you guys are getting at least some of it by being here. All right, moving on. Rabbi Eliezer ben Jacob says, if you do a good thing, then you get a character witness for yourself. And if you make a bad choice, then you get somebody who's going to say, not such a good person. And if you repent and you make good choices, this is a shield against punishment, presumably lessening whatever punishments you'll get, not saying you're not going to get any punishments if you deserve them. Rabbi Yochanan the Sandlar, meaning he made sandals, said that if a group is coming together for a good purpose, then it will endure as long as it can. And if a group is coming together for not a good purpose, then it's not going to endure in the end. Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua said, the dignity of your student should be as dear to you as your own. Just because they're your student, don't, belittle them. And the dignity of your colleague should be as great as the reverence for your teacher, which presumably should be high, because the reverence for your teacher should be the reverence as the reverence of heaven. So treat everybody nicely. Rabbi Judah said that you should be careful when you study, because if you mess up when you are studying or teaching, people might think that you are teaching wrongly on purpose. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said that there are three crowns, the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty, that the crown of a good name is superior to them all. As Rabbi Shakespeare said, reputation, reputation, reputation. That was in Othello.
Laughing out loud.
All right. Rabbi Nehorai said that you should go to where Torah is, even if in this day and age it just means clicking on the link. And don't assume that other people will come to you, because studying with other people helps you to have a better understanding of what's going on. Rabbi Yanai said, sometimes people who make bad choices seem to turn out all right, and sometimes people who make good choices have bad things happen to them, and we can't understand why. Which is why Rabbi Harold Kushner did not write the book Why Bad Things Happen to Good People, but rather When Bad Things Happen to Good People, because he knew his Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Matya ben Harash said, be the first to extend greetings to every human being. And it's better that you should be a hanger-on with good company than a super important person amongst poor company. Rabbi Jacob said, this world is like a vestibule before the world to come. Prepare yourself as best you can so that when you get into the world to come, which seems to be in this case the same as the afterlife, that you will go to the banqueting hall. So make your choices while you can. He also, this is Rabbi Jacob, also said that more precious is 1 hour of repentance and good deeds in this world than all of the life in the world to come. Because right now you can make good choices. And if you make a bad choice, you can try to make up for it. However, the tranquility of the world to come, even for an hour, is more precious than all of the life in this world. So try to make good choices now, because hopefully you'll get some of that tranquility later. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar said, do not try to appease your friend in their hour of anger, nor comfort them while their dead still lies before them, nor question them at the hour of their vow, nor strive to see them in the hour of their disgrace. Give people some space. Shmuel HaKatan said, if your enemy falls, do not exult. If they trip, let your heart not rejoice. lest the Lord see and be displeased and avert the divine wrath from them. Basically, he's just quoting this verse from Proverbs, but, if you don't have to gloat. You shouldn't be, it's not like you should be happy if your enemy is having problems, but there's no need to gloat about it. And this brings us to our text for tonight. Zoya, would you be willing to read, please? Or Zoya? Let's see if you're on still.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry. Okay. Elisha ben Abuya said, one who learns when a child to what they are compared, to link written upon a new writing sheet, and one who learns when an old person to what they are compared, to ink written on a rubbed writing sheet. Rabbi Yosef ben Judah, a man of Kafar Hababali, said, one who learns from the young to what they are compared, to one who eats unripe grapes and drinks wine from their vat, and one who learns from the old to what they are compared, to one who eats ripe grapes and drinks aged wine.
All right, and we got one more.
Rabbi Yosef ben Judah, a man of right there. Rabbi said, don't look at the container, but at the which is in it. There are a few containers full of old wine and an old container in which there is not even new wine.
All right, thank you. And now we've got some biographies.
You want me to read that?
If you like, or we can call on someone else because there's a fair bit of it here.
Okay. It was said that if someone saw Elisha ben Abuya in a dream, it was an omen of calamity. It may be that this is because Elisha once saw a boy follow his father's request to shoo away a mother bird and take the egg from the nest. The boy did as he was requested, but fell out of the tree and died. Since both of these things are supposed to endure a long life, and yet that didn't happen, Elisha decided to start searching for truth in Greek philosophy. Alternatively, Elisha ben Abuya may have become an apostate after joining Rabbi Akiva ben Zoma and Rabbi Azazi and entering the Prads.
Pardes.
Pardes. Either a mystical experience or okay. He became known as Acher or other becomes after the left Judaism. He desecrated Shabbat to propose to a maiden. She replied, I thought you were Elisha ben Abuya, but I see that you are another person.
All right. We got more.
Okay. Rabbi Elisha ben Abuya was a teacher of Rabbi Meir who also learned with Rabbi Kiva, a well-respected teacher by all. This may have inspired jealousy. Rabbi Kiva didn't start learning until he was 40, and that may have played into Elisha's saying. Rabbi Yosef ben Judah was the son of students of Rabbi Judah ben Eli. He was active during the late 100s CE. Rabbi Yosef was a contemporary of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. Rabbi Judah Hanassi was born to Rambam Shimon ben Gamliel II in 135 CE and died in 200 CE, which was the same year that the Romans suppressed the Bar Kokhba revolt, and only 65 years after the Romans destroyed the Second Temple. The national trauma was still fresh, and the Sanhedrin was haunted by the Romans and thus not providing any unifying leadership. Without a central address to settle questions, the oral tradition was in danger of being lost. When Judah became the first Nasi, same Hebrew title but different function than president of the Sanhedrin in 160 CE. Some say from 170 to 100 CE. He resolved by collecting all the saying of the rabbi and organizing them into 6 categories: orders or Sanhedrin and 63 subcategories. Rabbi Kiva and his students, Rabbi Meir, had already had a a go to this, and some of the work was done in previous generations. Not all of the sayings made into the Mishnah. Those were collected and wait, where am I? On the top?
Top is
Okay, generations. Not all the sayings made into the Mishnah. Those were collected and called the
varieties.
prerequisite. Okay, they frequently appear in the Talmud. It is not clear that Rabbi Judah Hanasi wanted to fix the laws. He may have intended to only write down what everybody thought to, so that future generations could decide what to do. From his efforts, Rabbi Judah Hanasi is sometimes called rabbi. It is noteworthy that the Roman Empire at the time was Marcus. These are hard words to pronounce.
These are
Sorry.
Marcus
A
Aurelius
philosopher.
Antoninus.
Okay. A philosopher who showed respect and friendship to the leaders of the defeated nations. The Christian church, Father,
Hieronymus.
right, as well as the Talmud and Medrash tells of stories involves Rabbi Judah.
And Antoninus.
For example, Rabbi Judah once made a cold meal for
Antoninus.
on Shabbat, and later a warm meal on a weekday. When the emperor said that the cold food tasted better, Rabbi Judah said that it was because of something called the Shabbat spice.
Okay, almost done.
Okay. It was said that Rabbi Judah Hanasi was so wise that everybody who saw him in a dream was being given an omen of wisdom. How are these saying relevant to our lives today?
That
All
was
right,
a
thank
lot.
That was
There was a lot of hard words.
That was a lot.
all right. So
Oh,
to recap, one who earns from when a child, to what are they compared to ink written on a new writing sheet, and one who earns when an old person, to what are they compared to ink written on a rubbed writing sheet. Then we have the next saying, one who earns from the young, to what are they compared to one who eats unripe grapes and drinks wine from their vat, and one who earns from the old, to what are they compared to one who eats ripe grapes and drinks aged wine. And finally, do not look at the container, but at that which is in it, because there is a new container full of old wine, an old container in which there's not even new wine. Okay.
It's like
So-
what you had us
so-
talk about in the beginning, about don't judge a book by its cover. Don't look at the container.
I really like the first one from what Alicia Benabuya said, particularly, and one who learns when an old person, to what are they compared to ink written on a rubbed writing sheet. It just really, I really like that because, as an older person, we've learned a lot. We've thought we knew things. We've learned new things. We've replaced some things that we knew with new ideas, or at least I hope we have over time. And that the analogy of that rubbed writing sheet, the eraser having, or having erased old things, you write over it, or scraping off the ink with a knife on papyrus. I just really was taken with that.
Kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit. The second one kind of spoke to me a lot with the analogy where they're kind of, it seems to be comparing younger and older people to basically kind of like wine that's still in progress of being made, and a fully finished wine. And I kind of like that analogy just because as a younger person, I try to be a little bit aware that I don't know that much really, and I still have a lot of a way to go. And wisdom obviously comes more with time, I guess. So
There you go.
kind of spoke out to me.
David?
Jump in.
David, the word old or old person has been used a couple of times in here. Is the word in Hebrew zaken?
Let's see.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. I forgot if I told you or not that I once wanted to look into that. I won't tell the story here because of the class needs more time than my story. But there is a story that stimulated me in Breshit to ask, why is Yehuda ben Yaakov, Yehuda, son of our forefather, referring to his father as an old man, which seemed disrespectful to me. And a wise person in the synagogue I attend told me, Barry, don't worry about the English. The Hebrew word is zaken. Zaken means wise, and it comes from a person who is old, but being old, he or she has gone around the block a few times and learned a few things and has become wise. And it's the wise aspect of the old person that needs to be highlighted. And I'm very sensitive about that when I learn. Watch the words. Okay, I got that off my chest. Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually have a grammar question related to that. The term zaken that's used here, I know that term is also used, I think at least earlier in the narrative of the Torah for like an official, like some kind of like a village leader. So something conveying some kind of like political authority a little bit. Does it have that implication here, or am I misunderstanding its usage a little bit?
It's an elder. So an elder and an elder is to be treated with respect in the Torah. So elder of the community who is recognized as being wise and somebody who should be treated with respect and listened to.
As an older person, we would say that, as in the sayings, that there's more wisdom resides in an older person because of his experience, and he may have better judgment. Is that what that's trying to say, and why elders are respected?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And even if an elder has lost their memory, it is said that when Moses broke the first set of the 10 Commandments, that the broken pieces of the first set of the 10 Commandments were put into the Ark of the Covenant along with the second set of the 10 Commandments because they are still worthy of respect. So even a person who is no longer as mentally sharp as they used to be is still worthy of respect. So the question for these texts is, how are they relevant to our lives today?
I think it, as much as you have a mentor in your life, someone who's older to whom you look for answers, you should always continue to look everywhere, try to experience things on your own as a way of learning and not just take the word of someone who's lived a longer time. Is that making any sense? To me, these are very cut and dried, it's like, if you're young, you're inexperienced, and in a way, if you really want to learn, you should turn to an older person. And that, of course, is true. You can learn a lot, but there's a gap in there for me. The years in between young and old. there's a lot of space in there to keep finding your own way. I think the third one is where that idea kind of came to me, is that, you know, the container can look old, or could look new, but there's old wine, and it could look old and have new wine, and you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that an older person's word, while you respect them in their life, that their answer is to be taken for granted, and you should still keep searching for what works for you.
You know, I disagree here a little bit with what I'm seeing about one who learned from the young, two are they compared. I've worked a lot with young people and they've taught me a great deal. And I think part of it is that even precisely because they have not yet had my experience, they view a situation with a different angle. They come at it from a different place. Because I'm bringing a lot of stuff with me when I interpret or make decisions. Don't have all that stuff yet. They're a clean slate. So when I listen to young people talk, almost all the time I learn something.
That's why I think the last line, it almost feels like it's kind of moderating between the two opinions. Kind of saying that you can have this wisdom in, I don't know, multiple like age groups, I think. It kind of, I don't know, it might imply that there should be some kind of maybe collaboration between the two. I don't know. That's how it feels to me with what it's trying to say.
I feel like a person can learn from both young and old, depending if the young person had to grow up fast and had a difficult life. You know, you can learn from both. I feel like there's also old people that, I don't know, who take full advantage that they are old and make themselves, oh, I'm an old person. I could be taking this totally out of context, but like a young you know, I'm an old person, you have to respect me because I'm old, if that makes sense. But I know that people that went through tragic in their lives, who had to grow up fast, has a lot wisdom too to share.
David, I was going to just say that sometimes you have very young kids and they say the darndest things. So I think that, you know, it's their ability to look at the world with fresh eyes that sometimes offers things that other people don't see.
Yeah, new perspectives.
Or like
Yeah.
Art Linkletter, like a minute for a minute. It sounded like Art Linkletter.
Well, just think about the growth in what the technology that the youngsters are almost second nature to take a computer or an iPad or a telephone and do all sorts of things with it. I don't know, or there's so many innovations. The rate of change in of what we know and how we do things is increased so much that someone that's 20 or 30 years younger than I am in my profession are much more accomplished in using the latest tools for work than I am. I haven't used them. So I can learn in that sense. And there's also other social perspectives. I've learned that there was an age when my children were scolding us because we didn't know anything. That ran between, let's say, 15 and I would say, depending on which child it was, until 35 or 40. And now they're beginning to understand, you know, Mom, maybe you were right about this or that. but I still, during that stage, and I've learned quite a bit from my children as they become young adults and shall I say, mature adults. But once they learn to appreciate what mom and dad learn from their own experiences, and when they come to grasp that, so it's been a good exchange between our generations and even our grandchildren now. It's very interesting.
Like Mark Twain, Charles.
Yet it's a difference between being smart at something and being wise. Wisdom is a
Exactly.
higher level of know-how and savvy and living in this world. You can't get that when you're 17. You have to be much older, definitely elder, older person to have wisdom. You may have the smarts with technology, but you may lack your wisdom.
Yeah. Well, I can, in that sense, I absolutely agree with you.
Very
That's
well,
it.
yeah.
Once you get to a midpoint, and we begin to appreciate and understand each other a bit better, because we're learning about that balance between the two.
Wisely said.
You know?
But Charles showed me how wise he is as he was talking about how his children realized that his wife was right,
Exactly.
not him,
And
his
who
wife.
knows?
That's good, Charles.
Well,
State Department
it's
class.
true, because well, we have 3 daughters, and and then now they have their own children, and so they share that experience now. Certainly, I have it's children, but it's being a mother. No, it's a much, it's a different experience. I'm in awe about what my wife has done over the years with our children.
I want to go back to something that Carol brought up earlier. What about the people in the middle? The ones who are not new writing sheets or rubbed writing sheets when they are learning, and who are not unripe grapes and not aged wine when they are teaching. Where are they with all this?
They can teach the younger people what they know at the point that they are. From if they're 25 and they may have a teenage sibling or babysit for someone who's young, you know, they can already start to impart ideas and share what some of their experiences are with the younger group. So I guess it just becomes a hierarchy as people age. It just falls back. Responsibility kind of falls back to those who are younger. So maybe we're all older once we get past a certain point.
Carol makes a point, Charles makes a point, and it comes to my mind just now that the people in the middle are bridges to both sides.
Yeah. Sort of like the sandwich situation where young people sometimes have an elderly parent to take care of and also are raising children. So they're right there in the middle with, they can, I don't know, maybe they can still learn from their parents, but they're in a different position, that's for sure.
So when it says one who learns from the old, to what are they compared? To me, this brings up a question. Is, quote, the old, is that an absolute term or is that a relative moving term? Like, when have you reached that stage? Or when has a person reached that stage?
David, we decided that old means is the word zakane in this case.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it has to do with your perspective. When you're if you're very young, let's say you're 5 years old, somebody who's 15 is old to you. If you're if you're 40 and you look at somebody who's 80, well, they look old, but you're 40, you're kind of old. So I think it depends on your perspective.
One thing crosses my mind, David, is the person who reaches a high stature in the community versus the person who doesn't reach that highest stature, but is much older in years. How do you compare the two with respect to respect?
Similarly, I got a comment in the chat that someone can be wise beyond their years, which refers back to that don't look at the container part. Like someone who lives on the street as a child or teen, they're going to have tons of life experience. We call that person streetwise.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I think it
And there's
also
a
has
person
something
who
to
is
do with what kind of primarily mental shape, but to an extent physical shape a person is. I'm 71, but I would say I'm in somewhat better shape than some people in their mid 60s, both mentally and even physically. On the other hand, I have people in my life, especially beloved professors, for whom I'm in awe of the fact that they're teaching into their late 70s and at least one into his 80s. And they're sharp as a tack and seem very energetic and have no problem running a class for 70 straight minutes without taking a breather in the middle. So I think a lot of it is that mysterious nexus of, pardon me, mental health and physical health and emotional stability as one moves from 160s into 170s, and please God, we should all make it at least into our 80s.
So when the Torah says, "V'hadarta mipnei zaken," you shall rise before the zaken, the here being translated as old person. How do you know if there is somebody? I mean, it's now written on the bus in Israel, a biblical verse, just like it says seats reserved for, I forget, senior citizens, I think in Chicago is the terminology. Like tachlis, practically speaking, how do you know if you need to get up or you need to ask someone else to get up for you? Like, how does this play out?
Well,
and make a, go for it, Alan.
from my personal experience, on public transportation in Chicago, nobody wants to get up.
Yeah, right.
But when we were in Europe, everybody would get up. And I was amazed at how quickly people who were younger than I am, even teenagers who, in Chicago, God forbid, they wouldn't get up, but they would get up and offer you a seat, and they'd be shocked if you didn't want to take it, which I never, only once did I take a seat from somebody. I always thanked them and was very impressed. But I think they're just, in certain societies, there's a lot more respect for older people than in others. And I don't think we have a lot in our society.
Alan, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do, so you should have taken the seat.
I
Out of courtesy.
I didn't feel the need to, and if somebody else who came along that needed it, they would get it.
That surprises me for New York, Alan. Usually the people in New York are not 100% polite.
Well, I don't know about New York. I haven't been to New York in a while. I'm talking about in Europe.
Oh, in Europe. Oh, I thought you said
Central Europe.
Yeah, no, that's right, because they're much more polite. That's true, yeah. In New York, I don't think anybody would get up and give you a seat.
Well, I will tell you the inverse, well, the same experience. When I was living out of the country for so long in South and Central America, I'd become accustomed to getting up and offering an older person a seat or helping them one way or the other. And I came back to Chicago and I was riding on the bus and that there were some ladies waiting in line to get on. And I said, no, you go ahead first. And they were taken aback. Or the same thing with the seats. I would offer my seat, or no, you sit down, I can wait, if we were all getting on the bus together. And they were almost frightened. They didn't know how to take it. But I did. It was about 30 years ago now, since I came back. They thought I was some weird person or something. That seemed to be the reaction I elicited from some.
Well, you were young then, and now you're okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Charles, I agree with you. It's so true. There are times when I go to the grocery store and I see somebody that needs help and I'm trying to help them, and they looked at me like, oh, like they're in shock, and then they just keep thanking me. Thank you so much for helping. I'm like, sure, no problem. It's like it's sad that we live in a world where being kind is more of a foreign thing now than it should be.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I saw a sign on a car a couple of weeks ago, just said, be kind. And I thought, wow, isn't that nice? We should all have that on our car. Be kind.
All right. And on that closing note, be kind, which I think chapter 4 of Pirkei Avot would very much agree with. I think we're going to stop our recording.